Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show. I'm the host of the show. You can go to my website, tolltutor.net, for more information. Twitter, Toll Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, Instagram, Toll Tutor, Pinterest, Neil Haley, Google+, and also on Periscope at Total Tutor. And if you've been listening to the show noon to 1 p.m. Eastern live on my website every week and then syndicated across the country, I've been working with Coach Karen Hall. You've seen her on our television show as well. But we have been really bringing different guests from the community that have been successful in college sports and professional sports. So I'm excited first to welcome WPL Hall of Famer, my co-host, Coach Karen Hall, UNLV Red and Reb.
Thank you.
How are you? Thanks again for being on the studio and lining up some just amazing guests. So who do we have today?
Well, I'm excited to be here on the show, Neil, and I'm even more excited to welcome our guest today, Jonna Hemrick-Burke, and you may all remember her, Jonna Hemrick, at her days at the University of Pittsburgh, and we have to say she's probably one of Bethel Park's favorite daughters. So, Jonna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.
Good. We're glad to have you here. And we're going to jump right in at basketball is your sport. When did it start? Why basketball?
Well, that's a really good question. It's been a long time for me to think about that question because, I started playing so long ago. I think really I probably got into playing basketball because I was tall. Okay. And it was just kind of a natural thing for me to do. I started playing rec basketball when I was in 6th grade. I think back then that was about the soonest that you could play when you were in public school. Okay. So I started in 6th grade, basically, playing rec, and then I got onto the junior high teams in 7th and 8th grade. Played freshman basketball 9th grade year, and then played varsity my 3 remaining years in high school.
So during your rec days, your youth development days, did you kind of sense that you were pretty good here? Did you think I could dribble, I can hit the rim, it goes in once in a while? So in that youthful time, what were you thinking about how you were playing?
Well, I knew I really liked it. It was something I had tried. I had done other sports. I played some softball, maybe some soccer when I was younger. But when I started to play the basketball, it just seemed kind of natural. And my parents, I think, saw a little bit of that too. So they built put some concrete in the backyard and put a hoop up, and so it just kind of went from there. And then by in 7th and 8th grade, I guess I was kind of like the leading scorer on the team, and I was competitive, and I just really fell in love with the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how about the youth development coaches? I know, I'm sorry, Neil.
That's okay, Coach.
I'm excited. I don't get
that's fine. That's fine. I'm thinking about 20 follow-up questions already, but go ahead.
So talk about some of your development coaches, because that's really a tender age to start playing if you have thoughts of later.
Sure it is, and I do think that things have changed dramatically from at that time to this time, because I see with my own daughter playing 4th grade basketball now. I mean, she has the opportunity. She even had the opportunity to play when she was in 3rd grade on the little travel team. I mean, you can play almost as young as kindergarten now in different leagues.
I coached kindergarten and 1st grade little hoopers girls, my daughter and stuff. Just kind of not games, but just fundamentals and stuff like that right now.
So yes, so it was a lot different when I started to play, because I don't know that the fundamentals and those things were as stressed and as they are now, as is the time to put into it now.
Right.
I mean, the kids are playing. She's been playing all winter, and then there could be a summer league to play in. There could be AAU if she chooses to go that route. Things were a lot different for me. I mean, I played in the season. In our season, and that was basically it. And I shot in my backyard. And worked on my game that way because I just loved it. Not until I got into high school did I start with AAU, and I believe after my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like now kids are playing a lot more, a lot earlier.
Okay, I would agree with that.
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think it's a combination. I think it's really important that kids get breaks. I think that they need to try a lot of things so that they can decide what they're interested in. I don't think that one sport all year is good for kids, especially under the ages like of high school age
Right.
kids.
Right.
Totally agree.
Yeah, because then sometimes you find by the time they get to high school, they're kind of tired of it.
They're burned out, and how many of them end up really, after playing AAU since 5th or 6th grade, end up going and playing in high school?
Some don't,
Because
right.
they're just so tired of being scheduled. Then they put their academics on the line and say, okay, I got to be in all these AP courses, which were not out there back in the day. And the stress of just studying, they say, oh, I'm not going to go play in the WNBA. I'm not going to get a full scholarship Division I. So why am I going to put time I put in when I was a kid? Because of academics, there's so much time that has to be spent in that to keep
Absolutely.
the GPA and stuff.
Absolutely. And you know what else, too? Even in high school basketball now, the time that is required or that is asked of the kids is a lot. It's a ton. You know, in season, we practice 6 days a week, you know, or play. Out of season, I actually think that I don't overdo it with my kids. Maybe some of them would disagree, but you know, we always take the full months of July and August off.
Okay.
We always, depends on when we lose, like in the playoffs or when our season ends. But we usually do about 2.5 months after the season, and then we come back in September. I truthfully, I know coaches that shut it down for a week or two.
Right.
And that's all. And I can see why kids say, you know what, this isn't for me, it's too much.
Exactly. And that's the great point. But I'm just thinking, we have all these specialties now. I mean, I own a tutoring and consulting company, so I understand and I also see these kids and all the schedules there. And it's just so much. And as a coach, you see that firsthand. You say to yourself, how do these kids have any time to be a kid in high school? I mean, you have the academics are huge, especially because it's important. Then the athletics is huge. When is there time for them to be a kid? And I think that's the more and more it's becoming that. The teachers are expecting more and more homework, more and more work. Then you talk about the schedule in basketball and how much time they're spending a day. It's tough.
I try to always let my kids know, that the team know that they are special. You know, they are doing more than an average student, and nothing wrong with being an average student.
No.
I just say, you know, you are putting in all this extra time.
Exactly.
You're running and you're working out and you're doing the school. I mean, pat yourself on the back.
Exactly.
You know, you're doing something. You're doing
It's gonna help them
something
when they get to college,
important and
juggling,
good. So I try to empathize with them, but at the same time, I know I demand a lot.
Right. So I mean, you went through that as a player. So you days are over. Headed to high school, pretty good now. So you just talked about all this meshing everything together. How well do you feel that your parents did meshing your academics, your athletics, and getting you to and from? What was that experience for you?
Well, for me, I mean, that was pretty flawless. I mean,
Okay.
you know, anything that I needed or take into or whatever, they were always there for that. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. But you know, as I think you guys alluded to just a few minutes ago with the AP classes, you know, those things were not in the forefront when I was back in school. You know, it was good enough just to, you know, do well in your classes, in your regular classes. But now it's much more competitive, I guess, to get into colleges, and everybody is in an AP class or an honors class. I don't even know what they're called.
So just think of the kids that probably even play on your team that want to go Ivy League and have a possibility because of athletics that maybe they wouldn't have had to get admitted. So they have to have the academics down, they have to have the athletics
Community
down.
services.
There was a completely different story. You know, the amount of competition in schools just to get in the top schools, it becomes a business in 9th grade for the parents, and that brings the stress level. And then there's the athletics. That's what I'm meaning. Yeah, I mean, I see it just, it's crazy. Their schedules are just nuts.
Right, and I did not feel any of that pressure. You know, I just felt like I was supposed to do well in school, and I was supposed to practice and play hard when I played basketball. You know, and it was simple then. And now it is much more. I feel like it is more complicated, and again, it comes into it's year round. It's kids are getting specialized training in every sport year round, and I honestly think there are more injuries as a result of those things as well. I've had a handful of girls with ACL injuries over
Oh,
the
wow.
years, and they were kids that just worked year round.
Yeah.
And I often wonder if that played part into that injury.
I'm sure of it, because, and then also their dieting. Even though you stress the dieting at home, the changes of what we believe are good for athletes, or even good at home, because they're on the run all the time. They're not getting the home cooked meals that they used to get. A lot of different things have changed. That it's always on the go. And they didn't train their bodies, and they're not stretching like they need to when they were younger, and then those injuries occur.
Sure.
And I see lots more broken bones than maybe 10, 20 years ago, in my opinion, and a lot of different things. Getting back to your playing basketball, high school ball, when did you know you're good enough to play in the next level?
Well, I guess it would probably have been after I played AAU in the summer of my sophomore year. I would say my sophomore year in high school was my first year that I played varsity basketball, and I did well, and I played at AAU in the summer for the Western PA Bruins, and at that time there were only 1 or 2 AAU teams.
So so it had not spread as it has today.
Not at all.
Okay.
I mean, we had to try out.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and kids got cut, and that was it. You
It
made
wasn't
that
the
team.
kind of money you had just to make the team, and you had to try out and be the best in AAU. That's
It
when I
really-
played. That's the same thing when I played. You
Because
couldn't
two
just
is
finish.
really a lot of teams. Because we're a little era difference here, but there was one with me, and now you're saying there were like a 2.
Maybe. I'm guessing, but
Yeah.
I know that.
But it's still not as widespread like today.
No.
Oh my goodness, no!
Yeah.
Anybody can
Watered
play
down.
AAU
Absolutely.
today. Anybody.
Anyone, yes.
Anybody, whether or not you've even ever played basketball,
Yes.
you could play AAU. So that I played, and my team was a very good team. I mean, I played with a lot of really good girls. I mean, I'd say 95% of them went Division I. So we were on a good team. We got a lot of.
Sure.
Like a lot
Yeah.
of people were watching us,
Right.
and so that's when I feel like things started happening. I started getting some letters, some
That's-
interest, and
So who are some of those players? Because you were on that team too. So as you were saying they were good, you were on that team also. So who are some of those players on your AAU team that ended up in Division I basketball?
yeah. Well, I played with two girls from Penn Hills High School, Erin Malloy and Janine Joyce, and we actually played at Pitt
Yes,
together.
you did.
Okay.
And Bonnie Rimkus at the time, she ended up
Okay.
going to Maryland.
Yes.
Okay.
Carla Coleman went to Penn State. There were, Jill, no, not Jill. She was my college roommate. See, you're catching me here because
But
I'm
you
getting
didn't
old.
know.
And so,
Brother.
and I'm
Yeah.
going to catch you by just saying we
Yeah.
got to take a break. Talking college basketball, talking high school basketball, talking a lot of things. And I love when Karen does this, because I'm like, Karen, let's stick to the topic, and I have to play and joke around with her. But I love when we get in these conversations, education-wise, with athletes. We've been talking college basketball, high school basketball, and also academics. And you're watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.
And for those of you in Bethel Park that don't know me, I am Mr. Bold, one of the many stars here at Bethel Park TV, Channel 7. I hope that the folks in Bethel Park understand what we have here in the way of BPTV, the asset that the television station, the public television station, is to the community of Bethel Park. For Mr. Bold personally, one of the things that I would like to do, and I've talked to Dave about this, is a show gearing itself towards veterans. And I would throw out an invitation to the veterans in our audience here in Bethel Park or around the South Hills. If you want to contact Dave Cable here at the station and let them know that you would be willing to share your experiences, especially the World War II veterans who are losing here at an alarming rate, and pretty soon there's not going to be many of them left. I would love to get them on TV if they would be willing and interview them.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show, and Coach, I'm telling you, we kind of bring us back to where you wanted to go on this, because we were really talking about something that's my passion, and that's kids being overscheduled.
Yes.
how to manage that family life, and it's going back into my education type of brand more than the entertainment kind of brand. So take us back into who we're talking to and what's going on.
Sure. Well, we have Jonna Hemrick Burke today with us, former University of Pittsburgh star. And, Jonna has brought up so many great issues. The time management of our kids today. When do they have time to study? The more pressures academically with AP courses. But there's this demand to perform athletically.
Exactly.
So a lot of things going on. How do you now, as a coach, manage some of that?
Well, that's a good question, because I have really been blessed with the kids that I've coached at Bethel Park, in that they are very conscientious. They are responsible students.
That's good.
And they want to do well. They're driven. So academics, for me, as far as having to motivate the kids or having to stay on top of them about them, has really been a non-issue.
Good.
It seems as if that term, dumb jock, like kind of back when I played, it was almost acceptable, they're a jock, they're a jock. Not anymore. I mean, the kids on my team all do very well. In fact, we give academic awards at our banquet, just as a little extra motivation, because some kids get the basketball accolades, but then some kids don't, and so rewarding them academically, I think, is a nice thing to do. But traditionally, we've given awards for students with a 3.5 cumulative GPA for the year or higher. Well, last year, I changed it to a 4.0 just for that year, because 3.5 pretty much encompassed everybody. And I said, you know what? This year, it's 4. We're going 4.0 this year, because I still had 12 kids.
Wow.
Out of 20 kids or whatever I had. It was over half.
Wow. That's great.
It was over half. And I think some of those 3.5 kids were upset with me. But I just said, I can't give one to everybody. We're gonna make it a 4.0. We'll see what it is this year. But it's really impressive to me how much they care about school.
Do you see the time that you have to put into basketball now in women's and men's basketball compared to maybe 20 years ago, especially for girls, that now the time and effort into that they have to be so structured? Because to be a great athlete, to play high school basketball, especially quad A, you got to be a very good player. You can't be, it's not the run of the mill with so many girls now playing. So that leads to they have a great head on their shoulders, they practice hard, they show up on time, they do all these things, so that just takes right to the classroom, it sounds like. The same type of an attitude that they have on the court, they've been taking to the classroom, your players. Is that from you instilling that from the beginning, or you think it's just happening, that's the kind of players you get at Bethel Park?
Well, I wish I could take credit for that. I certainly think that as far as basketball goes, they know we expect a lot. They know we expect them to work hard. We expect them to be there. We expect them to give their best. Now, again, like I said, I've been fortunate with the kids that I've had over the years that I think that they automatically carry that over into the classroom. And surely their parents motivate them in that regard as well. So I feel as if, the parents and the kids are on top of the academic side, and I'll take the basketball side, and we kind of mesh them together, and it's worked well.
Well, you're a Bethel Park grad, so that culture didn't just start today.
No.
So the culture that you grew up in, graduated in a Bethel high school, it's time to college. So what were some of your choices before you landed at Pitt?
Well, I was being recruited by a handful of different schools, and it kind of got narrowed down to Pitt and Penn State. And really what it came down to was the fact that I liked the idea of being closer to home, and that my parents were able to see me play, to be a part of something near where I had grown up. And I really liked Kirk Bruce and the girls on the team when I made my visit. It just felt right, and everybody will say that to you. It feels right when you go and visit. And I knew. So that's how I ended up at Pitt.
Okay, and your career there. So your freshman year was pretty stellar, as I understand. So take us from the beginning of your freshman year.
Well, I certainly didn't know what to expect. I mean, it was much more difficult than anything that I had ever done in my life. The running alone and the preseason conditioning was about enough to make me want to quit. But of course I didn't. but it was very hard,
Right.
and it was something that you had to get
Right,
through to
right,
understand
exactly.
why you were
I
doing
gotcha.
it. And then, I mean, we had a relative amount of success that season. We in fact beat Connecticut that year,
Okay.
and I know they were ranked. It was kind of as Connecticut was coming on. This was the first year that they would make the Final Four, and we beat them
wow,
earlier
okay.
in the season. Yeah, and I don't think at the time I realized it.
You'll have to realize now, going back.
I
And
sure do.
telling them,
I look back like, hey, I was on that team. But I had some good upperclassmen that kind of showed me the way, and I was able to play kind of in their shadows,
Right.
and still be able to be successful. And so we did do well, and that was a very good year. We kind of slumped a little my sophomore year, and then we came back my junior and senior years. And in fact, the senior year had the best year that we had of my 4 years. However, we fell a little short, still did not make the NCAA tournament, which had always been a goal. But we did make the NIT that year.
So your freshman year, were you Rookie of the Year? Or
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Let's talk about that.
Well, again, it's kind of funny because I was just young and playing ball,
Yes.
and we went to the Big East tournament and the banquet, and they called my name for Rookie of the Year, and it was really great, but it was something I didn't expect,
Right.
and it's, again, looking back on it now,
Yes.
I think, oh, that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
but at the time you're just playing,
Right.
and you just want to do what you can to help your team win. And
So
Right.
did that catapult you, like that Rookie of the Year, Big East? Big East was the Big East.
right.
And here
Well,
you
you
are,
have
Rookie of
Connecticut
the
there.
Year. Exactly.
Connecticut is a powerhouse, and you're
Yeah.
about to see the whole rise of them. So, what year was that? Your freshman year?
My freshman year was 1990-91.
1991. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, Pitt basketball. You look at your 4-year career. Win-wise, because the women have not had the greatest success.
Right.
You can say your 4 years at Pitt were pretty good.
They were.
Compared to some of the women's teams in the history at Pitt.
Sure. I mean, they were, but again, there certainly have been other teams that have done
Yes.
better. There
Yeah.
were some before us that had made the NCAA tournament, and then after I was gone for I don't know how long, when Agnes Marinata
Right.
was
Yeah,
there,
she got it pretty
Yeah.
far 1 year.
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16,
16.
and last year they made the tournament again
Yeah.
under Susie. So there has been success, I mean, spotty success throughout.
Yes.
And again, making the NCAA tournament was always a goal. And, when it didn't happen, we all were sort of felt a little deflated because we really thought we had a
Yeah.
shot the last year. But we did play in the NIT, and that was a good experience to get some postseason play.
Right.
And, it was overall, it was a tremendous experience, and it was I think it did. I was fortunate to stay in the area
Yes.
and be able to kind of then get jobs out of the area
Yes.
because I stayed local.
Pitt alum now. I know you're a Pitt alum. What's the Pitt varsity walk?
The Pitt Varsity Walk. Well, I guess. I mean, it is. It is the area between. I think it is between the Heinz Chapel
Right.
and the Cathedral of Learning, and every year they put an athlete or two or three's name in the sidewalk. And fortunately, my name was put there 100 years ago.
And that's based on your academic and athletic achievement.
Well, I would say probably more athletic.
So,
However,
how many
maybe
points
it was academic
How many
as
points a
well.
game did you average in your career at Pitt? See, I'm throwing you on some questions.
Well, and honestly, I don't know. I mean, I career probably like 16 or so.
Okay.
Career.
18.
It was what?
18.
Okay, thank you, Karen. It was 18. I didn't know.
What do your players think of this with your background, especially to play for you and know that you played major Division I college basketball and played in the Big East and things like that? How many of them have the aspirations of going on to play D1 for your players?
Sure. I mean, I don't know what they think of it because I certainly am they're like getting younger and I'm getting older.
Yeah.
So it just seems, that was a really long time ago,
Yes.
and I'm far removed from that. So I'm not even sure if they're really aware in a
I'm sure
sense.
the parents are aware.
Maybe
And
they
they're
are.
in the-
Maybe
and
they are.
when they choose what plan to move into, they look at and then they have a girl and they say, "Oh, I want them to play for you." That happens. I mean, just think about
Yes,
it.
it
The new
does.
plans they're building all the time. They have different districts to choose, and
Sure.
if they see that basketball's been on their radar for so many years and want to play for you, so that I'm sure it has some influence with the parents in certain ways.
I hope so. But I've had a handful of Division I kids over the years. I mean, this is my 21st year coaching. So, Division I kids are kind of rare. I mean, they are. So, in all my years, I could go back through and count them, but it hasn't been a lot, but it's been, I'd probably say 7 or 8 maybe over the 20 years. I know this year I have a kid, my senior Shannon Conley is going to play at Canisius. Okay. And I have a junior, Justina Mascaro, who is being recruited Division I. So I'm sure she'll play at that level as well after, she's only a junior, but I think I can help them, if they want help and in making some decisions. But, honestly, AAU plays a bigger role almost than high school ball.
Do you like that fact that the AAU plays a bigger role in the recruiting process than high school? I'm sure you don't.
I don't like that. And the reason I don't like it is because I feel if I were ever a college coach, I would make sure that I had conversations with a high school coach.
Yeah, exactly.
There are many kids that go on to play, and it doesn't have to be D1, it can be D2 or D3, that I've never had a conversation with their coach.
Yeah.
And I find that a little disturbing because don't you want to know more about this kid? Don't you want to know the ins and outs? And I would love to talk to you about any kid. And I just think that there's something missing there.
This has become such a big business, because it's a way to get a full scholarship to college, that parents are willing to pay a lot of money throughout that years in the AAUs and all these different things to get them to have that shot. And it's a big business. Training, all these different things are becoming such big businesses. It's keeping the high school coach out of the equation at times, which I don't think is a very good thing, because the biggest competition, in my opinion, is in high school, not playing WPIL. That's where the competition is, not these AAUs, because they're just looking to try to get a highlight video, certain that's going to go out on the Instagram or certain things, so coaches see it. They're trying to look at the individual, not the team. Is it going to be a good team player? Talking to the head coach is going to tell you if they're going to be a good team player the next level, for sure.
Absolutely, and just more about what kind of student they are and what kind of person are they and what's their attitude like, and those kinds of things I would want to know if I were coaching at the next level, and I know I would find those things out from the high school coach.
So very quickly, do you tell your kids that the glamour they see about these Division I games, that there's a lot of work for it to look that way? Do you go over that part of that? What you see on TV, there's a lot of work that leads you up to being able to perform like that at Division I.
Well, the kids that I have that I know have those aspirations, we will have some conversations throughout, but also, and I'll let them know too, like when we are running, let's say, in our preseason conditioning, I'll say, this is nothing compared to what you're going to see.
Oh my gosh!
And good for you,
because it's very much different. I could certainly not do what
longer practices, everything.
Well, and truthfully, they have to know that it's like their job.
Yes,
it's like their job.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter, even if you're not a scholarship, but Division III, it's a job still, because that's the major thing of why you're on there, and the coaches can grab you anytime. It's a little different in a lot of ways, especially during the season. You go out the next day you have classes, well then we're practicing early in the morning. It's not like, well, we got to wait till the parents want to get up. It's when they decide to do it.
Right.
Well, unbelievable show. Not enough time to get all the different things in about you and everything. And good luck next year, Bethel Park. The season's not over yet. Good luck the rest of the season. How are you guys doing? You think you'll make the playoffs?
I think we are in a good position to. We have 2 games remaining, and we need to win one of the 2 to qualify.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I can't believe how quick it is, Coach Karen Hall. Another awesome show. That's the Neil Haley Show for today. Go to my website, againsttoldtrue.net, for more information. Twitter, Told True, Neil S. Haley, Facebook. I love just coming to the studio and just racking out a bunch of interviews, not these short ones, even though I love the short ones with these top celebrities, but enjoying these conversations. And hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt.
Hail
Let's
to
see
Pitt.
what happens. Take care, everyone.